According to this Twitter thread, streamers are tired of good advice. Welcome back to our streamer and content creator help series. We're going a little off the books today, taking a little detour. There is a plan, there's an order that I'm doing all of these in. But something on Twitter caught my eye. It was this tweet by SoulC Live. It caught my eye not only because of the question itself, but the number of replies it had, especially versus likes. So even though these are responses to a tweet from an account with a smaller presence on Twitter, I thought what I was hearing people saying and what they're supposedly tired of were things I'd seen before and felt were worth addressing in a video. So while there are a few people in the thread that are mentioning your typical bad advice about streaming and content creating that is still out there, the people that are tired of good advice seem to be coming from two places, either a place of misunderstanding or a place of impatience. Most of the misunderstanding I'm seeing here is people painting things a little too black and white, which is not at all uncommon for the internet. We'll take the first response in the thread as an example. They say, "Don't look at your numbers, it breaks me. These allow you to target yourself, track your progress, learn from previous experiences, and celebrate success." Exactly. But you don't have to look at them all the time, especially not while you're live. Micromanaging and staring at your progress point blank every second of doing the thing that you're trying to do, that's what's really going to break you. At least for 99.99% of people. As someone trying to give advice on the internet, I can tell you that most of these channels, myself included, are trying to give the most generalized advice that they can so that it covers the most people. So like I said, 99.99% of people should not look at their viewer count while live. And I will stand by that. I don't look at my viewer count while live. I only looked at my stats by accident for the first time in months about a week ago. And I don't see the need for anybody else to either. I know how many people are in my chat because I'm interacting with the people that are there. So I either know that they were there, maybe they're looking, maybe they're still there, or I'm interacting with them directly the whole time. And to me, that's the point. You need to be either ready to interact, interacting, or on the show the whole time that you're live, because otherwise, what's the point? If you're not going to interact with the people that are coming to your chat as a small streamer, appreciating every view that you can get, you're looking at a viewer count that doesn't update immediately anyway. So who cares? There isn't a good reason, but if you have a good reason, go ahead, hit it down in the comments below. I'm gonna get fired up. At most, if I'm looking at stats as a small creator, small streamer, I would look at months, because trying to micromanage something that's already small is probably just going to make it harder for you to appreciate the bigger picture when change and growth does start to happen. When it comes to someone being tired of good advice from an impatient standpoint, it's because they're reacting to the advice thinking it should help them immediately. Some of the best advice out there involves being consistent with the advice that you're given, especially to see results from the advice. So some people will see this good advice and they try it out for days or weeks, maybe a couple months, but what it really needed was a few months, maybe even half a year, in order to have the consistency that was needed for it to be used in the way it was intended. Those two things in mind, we're going to go through this thread and break it down. Because like I said, why this isn't a huge sampling, these are things I've heard so many small creators talk about, and I feel like they're being reiterated, and you see so many videos with this advice because people are still trying to say they're tired of it. We're gonna go through and break these down in a way where if this is maybe something you felt before, maybe it's advice you're tired of hearing, you understand why it's good advice and maybe help you switch your viewpoint on what you think is wrong with it, or why you think it's advice that doesn't work for you for some reason, even if it's supposed to be universal. I will say, historically, I'm not a huge fan of comment threads. I think Twitter does a little bit better, but sometimes it's just minutes of your life that you want back. But I'm encouraged by this Twitter thread, the conversations that happened. A lot of people seem to maybe change or re-understand their viewpoints inside of it. So it's worth a read. I'll link it down below. But still want to go through and, you know, tackle these big ones that I think are important. Victoria is tired of hearing, grow on other platforms to funnel people to Twitch. I used to believe in this. Social media helps a bit, but it's not necessary for success on Twitch. Where we focus is where we grow. She's not wrong. Where we focus is where we grow. That makes sense. However, for efficient success on Twitch, you do need these other platforms to grow. And there's the other platforms are gonna come up again, so I won't spend too much time on this. But like I said in our last video, you want to focus on the platforms that you like and are most comfortable with and you have the time for. But there is no discoverability on Twitch. It may be incrementally getting better, but there's so many streamers. There's so many streamers. How is anyone gonna find you on Twitch? So maybe Twitter's your favorite, Instagram is your favorite. That matters a little less than, you know, being consistent with that and, you know, using those platforms to the best of your ability and as often as you can. Focusing solely on Twitch just is no longer an option for efficient, sustainable, reasonable growth. Till the discovery gets better, a lot better. Focusing solely on Twitch is going to be such a slow grind, I don't think anyone could stick it out, if it can work at all. The advice that Davey's tired of hearing is all of it. It's almost all recycled. This should be a thrill of the hunt scenario. Good old trial and error. Forge your own way, enjoy the journey. Some help is okay, but mileage always varies, and I think that sometimes people forget that. Davey's a boomer. No. I think Davey's a bit of an old head. So Davey's not entirely wrong. Those are parts of it, but you're gonna ignore advice by people that have actually done this before you, and you know, aren't just giving you throwaway sentiments like, oh, just do it, have fun, whatever. Yeah, like bad advice, sure, but you're gonna ignore specific advice from knowledgeable people in different realms of streaming, whether it be somebody that's already an entertainer and knows how they did it, or somebody that can quantify how somebody else did it. You're just gonna spend forever. We only have so much time, Davey. Some of us want to speed this process up a little bit, baby. There's gonna be trial and error for everybody, regardless of if you take good advice or not. And if you take bad advice, there's gonna be even more trial and error. So that's always gonna be a part of it. But the phrase "history is doomed to repeat itself" comes to mind. Because why go through the mistakes that somebody else can tell you not to make when you don't have to? Zeronium says, what about hobby streamers? I don't know why why are you taking streaming advice if streaming's a hobby? The advice, just have fun with it, is the only advice you need there. The advice that Wochi's tired of hearing is people watch the streamer, not the game. True if you are the successful one, false for everyone else. So I think this is good advice for a couple reasons, because if you build your stream on you, your personality, your brand, it won't ever matter what game you play. And if you're already not just gaming, if you're doing other things on stream, creating other content, you know, doing original YouTube content, you have so many more options. I've seen major streamers drop huge numbers when they left Fortnite, but there was still that core base of viewers that were there, and it was so obvious that they were there for them, and they're gonna ride it out no matter what they play. Because in reality, unless you're absolutely cracked at a game, what does it matter what game you play? Especially if you're gonna go off and try to play a game you hate just for viewers, it's not gonna be sustainable for you, and I don't see how it's gonna gain you an audience. Dr. Heels actually brings up some bad advice. He said he's tired of hearing you can't grow in saturated games. I totally agree with him here. He's talking about using discoverability through social media and YouTube, and I think that's, you know, if it's the game you love, it doesn't matter that hundreds of thousands of other people are playing it. Bring what you can to the game. Barkin says he's tired of a find your niche. The Hypersloth replies with, this is actually important though, and I totally agree, especially after watching this video from Devin Nash. With discoverability being what it is, and you know, with so many people trying this out now, I think especially just the way this year has gone, plenty of people that wouldn't have been drawn to creating content, have been, or, businesses have realized how important it is or how they can use that to their advantage. You can scroll through TikTok for the rest of your life, I think. There's so much content out there. And similar to what I said in the last video, you need to find what you can best bring to the table. And your niche doesn't have to be woodworking or cars or something crazy specific. Somebody in this answer thread brings up, I like making people laugh. Is that a niche? It can be, especially if you're actually funny and if you're good at comedy. Yeah, that's a niche. That's all you need. It may not really feel like a niche, but you do need a focus. You do need a backbone to your content that can, help drive you or spur you along to, keep creating, or something to look back to when you're, not sure where you need to go, or, what you're all about. Ryuga says the key is being open to other ideas and approaches to see what works for you. Twinkie says he's tired of hearing you can't grow on X streaming platform alone. Sure, diversifying content is important, but there are platforms built in ways and strats to grow anywhere, and many people do. Again, we touched on this a little bit already. It's just not your best move. Solely streaming 7 days a week on Twitch and tweeting twice a week just isn't going to be as helpful as it will be if you focus on a couple other places. Mr. Zach Lee says, for me, I'm tired of hearing stream advice from anyone and everyone. I don't mind it from 2 people specifically, but anymore it seems like everyone is a stream coach. Then you stop by their stream and they have less than 20 viewers. 20 viewers is great. I have an average of 5 and I love it. Me too. But just because I played baseball in high school doesn't mean I'd make a great major league coach. Sorry, rant over. Wasn't even much of a rant, Zach, you're fine. I want to touch on this because it relates to what I'm doing here. Am I a 5 viewer, Andy? Yes. Do I have experience in entertainment and being successful in front of a camera? Yeah. At the end of the day, if you say to yourself, I want to make this kind of content, I want to make Call of Duty content, or I want to do cooking content, or I want to do fitness content, and then you say, well, everybody does that, and that stops you from going and doing that thing that you're passionate about, don't do that. Do the thing you're passionate about. People keep doing these things and keep finding audiences and keep growing for the sheer reason that sometimes people just need a different perspective. Sometimes people just need a little different spin, or a different kind of energy that they can connect with. There's a couple in a row that are related. So Azula says, just network. Problem with this is people are confusing proper networking with using streamers to get more attention on their stream. Obviously, that's less of a bad advice thing and more of having poor etiquette. You do need to be smart and maybe a bit strategic about who you team up with and how you do it. And then Fiend River says, just grind or network. Network! Goes on to say, no, there's definitely some ingredient to the recipe for success that I am clearly missing, and it's not either of those 2 things. Just grind is terrible advice, and I could probably do an entire video on why that's one of my least favorite words in the current environment. But what I'm getting from the rest of this tweet, that this person's completely great at networking and there's a secret sauce that they're missing out on. There's definitely some other elements they're not mixing in. So if you feel like you're following some kind of advice to a T and you're giving it enough time and it's just not paying off for you, there's likely something else you're missing out on. In those moments, I think it's best to ask somebody else for an honest opinion. Ask some advice from somebody you think is getting it right, even if maybe you don't know them that well or they're a bigger creator. Try to find, resources to balance out what you feel like you might be missing, or to find out what you are missing. Sean says, any advice that tells you to replicate what big streamers do? I agree, and there's multiple videos from some of my favorite creators. Again, Devin Nash, Harris Heller have both talked about this, trying to do what big streamers did when they started 3 to 4 years ago, or even longer if they were maybe in competitive. It's just not realistic anymore. That path just doesn't exist. So you need to be focusing on some of these other things to see that growth and see whatever your version of success might be. Funky says streaming is all about luck. That's more bad advice. I agree. I don't know who's saying that. This next one is something I touched on in the last video and something we're going to touch more on in probably the next video. Chublet says they're tired of hearing just be consistent. Yeah, I know this one, but kind of hard with a full-time job and other responsibilities, you know, especially when I don't work consistent hours or days. When people say consistency, it really means whatever's consistent for you. So whether it's certain days a week or, you know, a certain number of days a week, it's whatever time and energy you can realistically devote to the process. It's really more about spanning it out in a way that doesn't see you disappear for weeks or months at a time than it is about, well, you can't be there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday every week, so you may as well just give up. Sure, most people have a work schedule and, you know, family, life happens, but it's about figuring out how you can, you know, manage and shift things around so that you can still, you know, move towards your passions. But like I said, this is something we're going to talk about a bit more in our sticking points video, and another reason why I wanted to address this thread, because I'm already hearing some of these things from the people that have responded to me about what their sticking points are. Dresden King points out the partnered streamers saying ABC always be casting. This isn't how the game works anymore. Just backing up what I said. I'm sure they're 1,000 viewer Andy over here. Baggin says they're tired of hearing networking is key, but then immediately go on to say, look, I'm not going to lie, I stream for fun. So stream for fun. Why are you worrying about any streaming device? If you stream for fun, why do you want to grow your stream? Why do you care who's in your stream? Right? You're likely just streaming for your friends, maybe your family that, you know, like to hang out and chat. Get out of this thread. Voivoda, I mean, I'd give you some great advice. Have a good screen name. Goddess of Shadows says they're tired of hearing you need a desktop computer, have a great stream. And Solsy actually just made a video on this, which is interesting. I haven't got to watch it yet. I hope she mentions Lightstream like I did in our $100 budget streaming setup. To be honest, if you're trying to figure out if you want to stream or not, and you have a console and you have the camera, just stream from that. Who cares? Figure it out. I mean, you're gonna be streaming to like the 5 people you know or whatever anyway. Maybe for a really long time. Team Killer says they're tired of hearing that to get started you need to network. No, to get started you need to click go live. Purple Shrimp says they're tired of hearing YouTube, make content on YouTube content. I think anyone who is taking streaming seriously, hobby or otherwise, knows that discoverability is the problem. I don't think that's true, and plenty of people, even if they know that discoverability is a problem, they put off the YouTube thing. They put it off. And I think somebody goes on to mention in this thread about, you know, a lot of people say your first videos are going to be bad anyway, so just post them. And that's true. Just get into it. Get into the algorithm. Supposedly you aren't even into the algorithm until after your 30th or 40th video. And then unless you're uploading consistency, YouTube's definitely going to ignore you. So upload. Just upload. I don't care if you edit the video or not. Upload your VODs. I know everyone tells you not to upload your VODs. And you know, after the 30th or 40th one, maybe like record a real video for once. You lazy? Until you get into YouTube consistently, and there's that word again, consistent, it doesn't matter as much what you put out. Are all of my videos fire? No, but at least every 5th one is pretty decent. When I put a lot of effort into editing a video for my personal channel, it's 99% about me, and usually 1%, the other 1% is about the people that were in the video with me, because I think they'll enjoy seeing themselves portrayed in a comedic or, you know, fun light. And I hope that if I stay consistent with it and one day do have, you know, a number of subscribers or a lot more viewers, that they'll go back to some of the old videos and be like, wow, these are actually pretty good. They're not that much worse than what they're doing now. It's a dream. Wochi's also back saying they're tired of hearing, don't look at the numbers, it will all be fine. The more you try to avoid, the more you are gonna look. It's inevitable, and on the long term, it will grind your brain away. This is a very specific type of mentality, and you actually have to rearrange your entire mindset to get away from this, which is a whole discussion on itself, a whole other thing. But if you find yourself unable to avoid the viewer count, I exclusively use OBS and I never even see my viewer count. I look at the creator dashboard on Twitch usually right when I start stream, and then I don't see it again. And like I said earlier, don't review my numbers every day, and not even every week, because I know what's going on in my chat for the most part, just by the amount of interaction and the presence that I have inside of my stream. Gutter says almost all streaming advice is just regurgitated cliche sayings now. There is a lot of that self-help vibe, but so you have to take it with a grain of salt. And like I said, finding the person who gives advice that's not only credible, but you also vibe with, for lack of a better term. 170 Out has another piece of actual bad advice, that all you need to do is keep working hard and you will be successful. Which is true, because like Solsi actually says in response, you can work super hard, but if you're putting your energy into the wrong thing, you will never be successful. I don't know about never successful, but it's definitely going to stop your growth, really hurt your ability to grow if you're constantly working hard on this thing that isn't going to get you anywhere, like streaming 7 days a week for 8 hours a day. I don't know where you got the time to do that if you have another job, but as an example, streaming 7 days a week for 8 hours and, you know, very incrementally growing, if at all, you know, that's a prime example of what that would look like. Captain Jack is tired of hearing be consistent, have a schedule. I hate to break it to you, Jack. It's just a cornerstone of success in this business right now. People want to know when and where they can find you. So, you know, if I currently try to put out a video in the middle of the week, a video at the end of the week. I try to stream Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. That's so people know when they can find me, because otherwise they'll stop looking for you, and they'll stop looking for you very quickly. Ross Randy brings up the golden word grind again. Punk Otaku is tired of hearing just have fun. This type of empty advice, it is bad, but is it important to be having fun? Yes, unless you're providing something like the Dick's restaurant, which I completely forgot until I saw a TikTok the other day, where the servers are intentionally rude to everyone that comes to the restaurant. Unless you're providing something like that, people probably want to see you having fun and, you know, come to a positive, you know, fun, uplifting place to, you know, escape reality, or, you know, to be entertained. You know, I guess the Dick's thing can be, maybe I can't say Dick's, but the rude restaurant thing can be entertaining, but, you know, that has to be part of your personality, or it has to work in a specific way. So should you be enjoying what you're doing, whether it's spitting in people's faces or being really good at whatever game you're playing? Yes. Co-op Trio Podcast says you can't make a living off Twitch. That's what they're tired of hearing. Like, no one said I was trying, but I am trying to build a brand, and that's one outlet. That's just people being negative. Obviously, plenty of people make a living off of Twitch, and if that's your goal one day, listening to people that tell you that it can't be done when it in fact already is being done, is, you know, just letting other people get you down. There's some just be yourself. Jalvzy is tired of hearing that one, and I have to agree. What if you're a terrible person? How is being yourself the best option there? And I always say, you know, the simple adjustment to that is be your best self. If you really want to get into streaming or content creation, and yourself is a maybe you actually have anxiety, or you're just an anxious person, maybe you're not the most outgoing person, and you want to do things to get you out of that shell, or grow through this process to get out of that place. You know, just being yourself isn't good advice. It's important to focus on the things that are going to help you change to become who you want to be. And, you know, that's a little bit deeper than just content creation, but that's, to me, what that really means and what the focus should be there. And that's the end. That's a good one to end on, because I think just be yourself is some advice that has existed in many places for a very long time and is not great. That's the entire thread. I'm putting this up unedited. We spent an hour going through that. I really don't want to cut through all this, but I think it's a lot of editor's note. There's a lot of trash in here. I didn't go on a script for this one. Yes, I write scripts for these. Hopefully I tie these things together in a sensical way. Next up, we have a video where we're going to be talking about sticking points that real people sent in, and some of those we touched on in this video, but we'll be going into a little more depth about people's feelings on, you know, what's holding them back and maybe stopping them from getting to where they want to be when it comes to streaming or creating content. And appearance, what you look like on stream, what your room looks like, how to design that, how to make it match what you want, what you feel like, what you're trying to present. I'm sure that's going to be a spicy one, real hot button topic. It's the roadmap for the series as it is now. If you have any comments on these, or, you know, bad advice you're tired of hearing, or maybe good advice that you're stuck on that we can get into the sticking points video, you know, comment down below. Again, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, remember, none of our links are affiliated or sponsored, so please support us by giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel, and we'll catch you on the next one. Happy creating. Welcome back. Piqued my interest and I opened it. What else do you do on Twitter? Things I'd seen before and worse. I had that. I'm gonna get fired up. This is gonna be a monster to edit. This video from Devin. That makes sense. That makes sense. I said, like I said, a lot in this video. Nailed it.